beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.
Tell us exactly what happened.
Training as usual, doing my 2-3 sessions a day, and growing up and being in the gyms, people always say put your weights away, and you don't really think much about it. Re-rack your weights when you finish using the weights. So I'm doing shoulder press basically, and some guy was next to me. He was doing flies. He dropped his weights. One of them rolled to where I was, so as I come down to put the weight down, I end up catching my finger between the dumbbell and my dumbbell, and then just literally just crushing the whole part of my finger off down to the bone. But I still wanted to fight. I didn't tell no one on my team. I just took a few days off and I had a chest infection.
So Dillian Whyte is forced out of his fight with Joe Joyce, April the 5th, Frank Warren's debut on DAZN. And it's just bad news for Joe, because I picked Joe Joyce to beat Dillian. They say Dillian was losing weight and getting fit in camp, but there's a difference between getting gym fit and getting that sharpness, getting your reflexes back as a prize fighter. And unless Hrgovic hasn't done any training at all since he was mauled and frankly beaten up by Danny Dubois last July for that IBF interim position, this is just the wrong opponent for Joe Joyce right now. Hrgovic has a good set of hands on him. He can roll a few shots. He's got an accurate jab. And although Joyce beat Hrgovic in the World Series of Boxing in 2013 at the York Hall on points, I don't see how he gets out the way of Hrgovic's straight punches. I don't see how he does it. Joe looks like he's in deterioration after them 2 losses to Zhang. Now, I'm just breaking down how I think the fight's going to go. It's not necessarily going to go that way, right? But Hrgovic, he's the better boxer. He's got the better feet. If this was the pre-Zhang Joyce, he'd have a much better chance. But I look in Joyce's eyes, and I'm not going to diagnose CTE from here because that'd be stupid too. But it's almost like something's died inside Joe. And Adam Morali, his manager, like, what's he playing at? Like, who was telling Joe that he was too light for the first Zhang fight? And then who told him to go into an immediate rematch? And who told him to pick this guy as a replacement for Dillian? Joyce's possible window of opportunity against Hrgovic is down the stretch. And if Hrgovic's conditioning hasn't improved since the physical collapse is what it looked like to me against Daniel Dubois, Joyce may be able to get to him in the later stages of the contest. But what has Hrgovic been doing since July last year is the question. Has he been putting in the hard graft in the gym? Or has this opportunity just fell in his lap and it could be a potential cash grab, more than him having any ambitions to get back in the top 10 and possibly challenge for world titles? We'll see. Dillian is 36 now. He needs to get back in the ring ASAP. And no more Christian Hammers, no more Tetes. I wouldn't mind seeing Fraser Clark win his fight on the undercard of Cameron versus Whitaker, and then he gets it on with Dillian. That'd be a good fight. Perhaps even Moses Atoma, if they can pay Dillian the type of purse to get Dillian in there, because Dillian will know they're trying to use him as a stepping stone. It's a freak injury, but Dillian needs to get a move on at 36. He needs to get a move on.
Boxing
Beats and rhymes.
no one can do it better.
Nick Bull taking on TJ Doheney after he just got knocked out by Inoue. It's not that impressive, you know what I mean? I reckon Nick Bizzle can do a little better than that. I mean, Nick made the first defense of that title he took from Ray Ford, defending against Ronnie Rios. Now, Rios, gutsy, but he wasn't expected to really give Nick that work like that. Although Nick, for my money, took too many shots than you'd like to see. So they're obviously trying to get Nick to rack up the defenses, get some money, until a more risky fight comes along where the reward is matched by the risk, if I know Frank Warren. And perhaps they've assessed that Nick gets hit a lot, so they're having to be a little cautious with the matchmaking. So that's March the 15th, MS Bank, Liverpool. And let's hope that step up in opposition comes sooner than later, unless the unthinkable happens and TJ Doheney upsets Nick Bull. And I think Nick will stop him. Some representative of Queensbury said this is going to be a gauge to see how Nick does against a common opponent of Inoue's. I don't think it would tell us much. It's a different weight class, and Inoue just looked like he was going through the motions. Now, before it sounds like I'm shitting on the fight, Doheney is a former super bantamweight champion, and at 38, he said he was killing himself at 122. He was due a jump up to 126, and he says he's going to be very strong at featherweight. And if that's the case, he could conceivably give Nick a harder fight than he gave Inoue. I think it will be a war until Nick grinds him down before the 10th round.
Boxing,
Beats and rhymes.
no one can do it better.
And I want to tell you a secret. If he allowed me, ask him which the first event fight he will have in September. Ask him if you want the answer.
Hey, Dana, I have a question for you. The first event that's happening in September, I didn't know if you knew anything about.
Well, these are things that we want to pump the brakes on and announce these things when you do it right. My friend Turki gets too excited and wants to go out and talk about
September. Congratulations, boys. Yeah. Congrats. We're happy for you.
We actually are getting together with him tomorrow. We're going to shoot some content. When it's time to announce, we have a massive fight. This is exactly what I'm talking about. A massive fight that only this guy could make happen. This man right here is the only guy that could make a fight like this happen.
Together, brother, together.
We will announce it when we're ready to, but this is the guy that has literally brought boxing back. Today is day one. We're making our announcement, and we're going to start building this sport back up from ground zero.
That's awesome, man. September 4th, the world's going to change, man.
Let's go.
September 5th, maybe. Maybe September 6th. Who knows what day?
What is it?
Yeah, September 20th.
Maybe September 12th.
Oh, okay, maybe. Maybe it sounds like maybe it's September 12th. The sport of boxing will change forever.
3rd of May, Canelo will take on William Skull for the undisputed 168-pound titles. William Skull owns the 168 belt Canelo had via the IBF, which he was either stripped or forced to give up because of the politics of boxing. And Turki, in his excitement, he gave it away. Dana White's first promotion he'll be doing in association with Turki, Ring Magazine and Silla, under the TKO Group Holdings banner, which basically own UFC and WWE, will be Saul Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Bud Crawford, 12th of September 2025. Just going to pragmatically break this down to you. Bob Arum is nearly 100 years old. It is what it is. Al Heyman, non-existent, barely putting cards on. He doesn't communicate with boxing fans, boxing world or boxing media. Showtime, out the game. HBO, out the game. Oscar De La Hoya is doing a decent job since the partnership with Riyadh season. He's a little kid. He's too immature. Dana White is going to become the most powerful man in American boxing and potentially the world of boxing. So here are some of Dana's previous criticisms of boxing. Excessive promotional build-up with too much talk and not enough action. A lack of consistent fight scheduling. A system that often prevents top fighters from facing each other. And a perceived lack of focus on the actual fighting compared to the surrounding hype and drama. He often criticizes the boxing industry for prioritizing entertainment over competitive matchups, which he believes the UFC prioritizes more effectively. We have just done a deal to start a new boxing league with Turki, who absolutely loves the sport of boxing, Dana White said in a video on social media. I am very happy today. Al Sheikh said, I am very happy today. I give the flag of boxing to the best man who can handle it. We have a tough job now, but I am sure he will be delivering to the people and the fans the magnificent league and get boxing great again. Now, if that information is true, that's a massive introduction into the boxing world, promoting Canelo versus Crawford. I mean, they're both free agents, signed deals with Turki. They're not affiliated to Matchroom, TNT, Top Rank, PBC. That's a huge introduction. And obviously, if Canelo beats Skull, that's going to be a 4-belt sanctioned world title fight, undisputed. But his main focus is going to be on this league. We're going to start seeing the Ring Magazine not as an afterthought that someone is an IBF champion or a unified champion. The Ring Magazine belt is going to be handed to people after they either win the league or however it's formatted. It's going to be handed to them in the ring. Now, while I don't think they're going to phase out sanctioning belts, I don't think they're going to do that. It could become a situation where the top fighters in the world are competing for that Ring Magazine belt it could come down to that. Sanctioning belts could become outdated, especially if you've got pockets of fragmented belts everywhere, no undisputed or unified champions. They could become outdated, and the sanctioning bodies could be made to look very unprofessional. They'd have to come into line with the new way of doing things somehow. And there is going to be a new way of doing things. Dana's going to want to streamline it. He's not going to want in one weight class, there's 8 different champions. Champion and regular champion, champion and interim champion. They're not going to want that. So right now there could be 8 world champions amongst 4 sanctioning bodies per weight class. You times that by 17 or 18 weight classes. Give or take the unified champions, the undisputed champions, or where there's not an interim or regular belt champion, there could be at least 130 world champions at any one time spread amongst all the weight classes. Dana is going to want to strip that down. And listening to Kevin Ioli, to strip that down, they might get rid of some of the weight classes. Some of the weight classes may go. I don't see Bridgerweight being there. They may trim down some of them lower weight classes because, like from strawweight to junior flyweight, it's 3 pounds. From junior flyweight to flyweight, it's 4 pounds. That's 7 pounds between 2 weight classes. And some people are going to say, but they're smaller dudes, it's different. Listen, they used to go from flyweight to bantamweight back in the day, from bantamweight to feather. They want to make the champions visible in this league. The champion won't be pressured to have to unify another 3 belts to be undisputed. They'll be more visible. They'll be easier to promote. I think that's the road they want to go down. However, I am predicting that Dana's inclusion in boxing is going to go down like a ton of bricks. With certain members of the media, certain boxing promoters. I know he's cool with Eddie Hearn, but him and Arum and Oscar De La Hoya do not get on. Certain people in the sanctioning bodies, state commissions, but he's thick-skinned enough to not let that faze him and try to achieve his objectives. Now, don't be here thinking that Beats is jumping up and down with excitement. We have to see how it's structured and what's implemented and how it looks and how it works. With Turki's money behind him, and the old model in America of boxing busted totally. It's got rid of HBO, Showtime. ESPN have declared that no longer having top rank cards will affect their broadcasting. It's going to be interesting. They're saying it will have a ranking system where basically if you're ranked number 10, you have to fight number 9 to get to number 8. It's not like the current system we have here. How quickly can it become a success? Need more details. Turkey was talking about a boxing league, but he was talking about prospects. If we're talking about all comers, then let's say Johnny Beck. He's got 2 straps at 160. He might have to make a choice. Do I carry on defending these 2 straps? Or do I become the inaugural Ring Magazine champion in this new format? And someone else can go fight for the 2 straps he gives up. You know, sanctioning bodies should have a field day. They can make 2 fights out of them 2 sanctioning belts. And if they can't get Johnny Beck, if Johnny Beck wants to keep the 2 straps, they can go to the number 1, 2 or 3 contenders or the consensus top contenders at 160 throughout the sanctioning bodies and invite them to fight for them inaugural titles. They'll fill up them inaugural titles in no time with world-class boxers who want to challenge for them Ring Magazine belts. In no time at all. The boxers will have access to the UFC performance institutions. They're going to have a development program for prospects. And I've heard they've got fighters signed already.
Boxing
Beats and rhymes.
no one can do it better.
Now, I heard that Dana started with boxing. I don't know how deep he was in with boxing, but obviously UFC is where he made his mark. If he can convert UFC fans to be interested in boxing and get the boxing fans in America who fell out of love with the sport to fall back in love with it, he'll be onto something. He's got the contacts. He's good friends with people like Mike Tyson. Eddie Hearn could be an ally. I know they get on. Kevin Ioli made a good point when he's talking about AJ and Dubois doing 96,000 at Wembley. Conor Benn, Chris Eubank going to do 65,000 and upwards to 70,000 at White Hart Lane. Inoue doing huge gates over there in Japan. America just isn't competing on that level with the rest of the world. As good as the Saudi cards have been, the time zones are just not good for America to get in the groove generally, unless you're real boxing hardcores. Is Dana White the man to put boxing back on the map in America? I tell you what, if he's not, you have to ask the question, can anyone save it?
So what should fans expect? You know, there's a lot of speculation on the format, what this might be.
There's zero speculation on the format. You know the format, and everybody knows the format. The best fight the best. You work your way up the rankings, and once somebody gets to the top 5, there's no question who the best 5 guys in the world are in each weight class, and they fight it out. And then once somebody holds that belt, you don't need 3 letters in front of the belt. Whoever has that belt is the best in the world in that weight class. It's a very simple model.
I support him with everything. This is his call now. His responsibility to deliver to the people and the fans the best models of boxing.
Now, I don't think they have a salary cap at the UFC, but they have a structure which they stick to rigidly, how they pay fighters. And it's brought Dana into conflict with the likes of Francis Ngannou, John Jones, Masvidal. How that plays out in boxing, I'm not too sure. Bob Arum has had fighters on minimum to maximum caps on how much he pays them. But whatever Dana's doing at the UFC will not be easy accepted in boxing, because boxers are not used to that. Boxers earn huge amounts of money compared to the UFC. And most people who are aligned with Turki Al-Sheikh, they are aligned because the bag is nice. But at the moment, with a lot of the networks bailing on boxing in America, if there's no competition, then Dana is not going to pay nobody over the odds if he doesn't have to.
Boxing
Beats and rhymes.
no one can do it better.